politicking, 2 weeks of public hearings, 12 witnesses, 30 hours of testimony. What's the most significant takeaways, and were all the questions answered vis-a-vis the impeachment inquiry? Assessment now from criminal defense attorney and legal analyst Trent Copeland, who joins us here in studio. What do you take away from what happened?
Well, Larry, he did it. That's the big takeaway, right? He is Donald Trump. He did what he's accused of doing. He conditioned Ukrainian aid that was appropriated by Congress, legally done by Congress. He conditioned that aid, and he asked the Ukrainian president to investigate the Bidens and Burisma in exchange for that aid. So he did it. That's my biggest takeaway. And 12 witnesses, career Foreign Service officers, decorated military men, who came in and all testified that Donald Trump did that, and he asked for it in exchange for there being an investigation against the Bidens. That's bribery under any standard.
So you think he'll be impeached?
I think that the articles of impeachment by the House of Representatives will move forward. I think there will be a trial in the Senate. I don't think that he will be removed. I think he'll be impeached, as the Constitution provides, in the House of Representatives. And I think the Senate will likely find him not guilty. I don't think he'll be removed.
Is the Trump case one you'd like to prosecute or defend?
That's a good question, Larry. And Steve Castor, by example, Steve Castor is the GOP counsel. And Steve Castor and I went to the same law school. I'm familiar with Steve. Steve, by extension, is representing the GOP, but really Donald Trump's interests. I wouldn't want to be Steve Castor. And I've heard the people say on social media he's done a bad job. The truth is, he has a bad case, and that's a bad job to have. Fact of the matter is, I wouldn't want to defend Trump or the GOP in this instance because the facts aren't on their sides, Larry.
So do we still have unanswered questions in your mind or not?
Of course we have unanswered questions. We have a number of witnesses who have not testified, namely Mick Mulvaney, the chief of staff, who went on camera days after this came to light and said there's a quid pro quo, and quid pro quos happen all the time. He needs to testify. He walked back that testimony. He needs to testify. I think we also need to hear from Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State. I think we need to hear ultimately from Rudy Giuliani, who's at the center of all of this. So the truth of the matter is, the people who we need to hear from most are the people that Donald Trump is preventing from coming forward to testify.
He can't prevent Giuliani. Giuliani does not work for the government. So if Giuliani is subpoenaed, he's going to have to come, isn't he?
You would think so, right? But this president has defied all the laws of both political gravity, and he's defied all conventional laws that normally associate with this kind of conduct. So the truth is, if Giuliani is called to testify, my guess is that he will assert some kind of amorphous executive privilege. He'll assume that there's some sort of protection that he has, attorney-client privilege between he and the president, and he'll assert some sort of immunity that prevents him from testifying. I think he'll lose ultimately if that is litigated, but I think that's what he'll do there.
What witness of the 30 witnesses impressed you the most?
Fiona Hill. Fiona Hill could not have been a stronger witness. And unlike every other witness, Larry, who testified and who came in front of Congress and couldn't remember certain things, needed documents, Fiona Hill didn't. She remembered everything. She's a career Foreign Service, Harvard-educated, Harvard-trained Foreign Service officer. She remembered it all, and she was concerned about it. And her testimony, Larry, didn't just go towards this quid pro quo business. It also went towards the idea that our country, our government, is now descending into these conspiracy theories that Russia has propagated. And she said, listen, I'm not here to defend one side or the other. I'm simply here to give you the facts. And I'm also here to tell you that this narrative that the GOP is pushing forward, this is a narrative that specifically comes out of the Kremlin. This is a narrative that benefits no one other than Russia. And so she gave a pretty stern warning to the GOP and to Congress and to the world at large.
What do you make of the Trump-Putin relationship?
I can't explain it, right? I mean, Trump comes after everybody. If you so much as say a cross word against him, he's coming after you. And the one person he has not come after is Vladimir Putin. And there are no circumstances under which he'll criticize anything that this dictator this autocrat, someone who our country has been really at odds with, had a Cold War with. Ronald Reagan said, look, this country is the evil empire. And this president, Donald Trump, has done everything in his power to help prop up Vladimir Putin as being an incredibly strong leader. So I can't explain the relationship. I don't know if there are financial entanglements that Donald Trump has that prevents him from speaking his own personal truth as to Vladimir Putin. But the reality is, Larry, it's an impossible relationship to just explain.
Was Ambassador Sunderland a disappointment?
He was a disappointment, Larry. And you know, in a word, he was too cute by half, right? Sondland came in, and within the first 5 minutes of his opening statement, he said, look, everyone was in on this, there was a quid pro quo, and we were all operating at the president's orders. But within seconds of having said that, it became clear that his testimony was going to be dependent upon not facts, but his presumption. And so, and look, and to the credit of the GOP, as many of them said, 2 + 2 may equal 4. But 2 presumptions plus 2 presumptions doesn't equal even 1 fact. So Gordon Sondland, he undermined his credibility by simply saying, oh, well, I thought there was a quid pro quo. Well, gee, I thought everyone was in on it, but I never heard this directly from the president. And I think he intentionally tried to distance the president from the facts that were very clear, abundantly clear to everyone in the room.
What did you make of the Republicans on the committee and how they handled it?
Disappointing. You know, look, what we've seen, Larry, is that the Republicans here, no matter what Donald Trump says or does, they're going to simply look the other way. I mean, he did this. The quid pro quo was established. This is if, you know, a bank robber goes in, he robs a bank, he goes home, he gets on Instagram, he posts a picture, and the caption is, I got all the money. I went to the bank, and it was a perfect heist. The Republicans' position is, well, they didn't use the word robbery. Therefore, there's not a robbery. And the idea that this is what their defense is almost laughable.
Now, Trump has repeatedly complained that he's not being granted due process, has he?
He'd have a point if it wasn't for the Constitution. But the Constitution, Larry, specifically says that there is no due process, as he and his supporters are describing, in an impeachment inquiry in the House of Representatives. This is like an indictment. This is like an investigation. If you're being indicted or investigated, you don't get to participate in the investigation. You don't get to call the shots. You don't get to call witnesses. That's at the trial. And at a trial in the Senate, he will have due process as he describes it. Well, he'll have an opportunity to confront and cross-examine witnesses. He'll have an opportunity to present his own defense. He'll have an opportunity. Right now, that's a red herring, and anyone who understands the Constitution at even an 8th grade level knows that that is BS.
Trying to go back to Clinton. Help me with how the Senate handles this. I know that the Supreme Court High Justice, he's the judge.
Yes.
Right? And how does it work? Do Democrats speak or Republicans speak? Can the president come?
The president can come. I don't think there's any chance the president will come, but it's exactly as you described, Larry, right? It's going to look a lot like a grand regal trial. The Chief Justice, John Roberts, of the Supreme Court will sit as a presiding judge in this trial, and there will be witnesses who will be called to testify. There will be evidentiary objections. There will be witnesses who will come, and the Chief Justice, like a judge in any other proceeding, will make decisions on the spot. And here's one interesting thing, Larry. I think that to the extent that certain witnesses are called, and there is an assertion of privilege, and I think you alluded to this a moment ago when you described Rudy Giuliani. If he's called, the Chief Justice will have to make a decision on the spot, just like a judge, as to whether or not there is an admissible ruling that brings in that witness, or whether or not there's an evidentiary objection that's been properly lodged.
Is this the rules like a regular trial?
Rules very similar to a regular trial. Look, it's not criminal in nature. He certainly doesn't, the president is not going to be put in jail if he's impeached or removed. So it doesn't have all of the earmarks of a criminal trial. It is certainly not like a civil proceeding, because look, this isn't about money. This is about the removal of the president. But it is going to have a lot of the earmarks. It is going to have a lot of the nomenclature that we see in normal criminal proceedings.